Yo, welcome right back. Hey. Okay, just piss in the yard. That's fine. They like this. This is cool neighbors. They like us. But welcome back. I am here to discuss Gen 4 engine, Gen 3 engine differences, similarities, what you can and can't do, how you can and can't do. It's gonna be a lot of yapping. So basically, what I'm saying is this entire video is gonna be strictly talking. If you don't want to hear me yap, just back out now. And go buy a shirt at the same time. Go to my website, buy the shirt, please. But I actually have a Gen 4 engine in my possession, which is very, very rare on this channel because all I deal with is Gen 3. But I have a lot of newer guys as in new to LS platform, and you guys probably come from the old school LS world, or you're just getting into LS stuff and you've never been into cars, whatnot. But this is how, if you're looking at something on Marketplace, or you're looking at literally something just sitting in somebody's yard or in their truck, and you're like, man, I don't know what engine that is. I'm going to give you the best ways to tell what generation it is, at least, because if it's in a vehicle, you can't tell unless the vehicle identifies, and somewhere on the vehicle, like on the airbox or something, it tells you what size the engine is. But this is just a Gen 4 engine. I mean, it's pretty simple. If you just look at it, you can easily tell the differences between that and this, aside from the fact this looked like it was pulled out of a swamp. But the intake is clearly different. The coil packs are slightly different. They're a little skinnier. This one's been replaced with a Gen 3 style one. The heads are always a good giveaway. The water pump is always a good giveaway. But at the same time, all those things are interchangeable with Gen 3. So you could take heads, intake off, water pump, coil packs, and put it all in Gen 3. The biggest telltale sign is the valley cover. There's no change in that. So see how this one has all that Aztec writing on it? Your Gen 3 will not. It'll be nice and flat. Just like that. And on Gen 3, your knock sensors go in the valley cover. Gen 4 does not. Gen 4 goes on the side of the block, which would be here and here. So that's the biggest sign to be like, oh yeah, that's Gen 4, because this is iron block too. You might think all Gen 4 are aluminum. They are not. So this one specifically right here is a Gen 4 5.3 that was built in 2007. So it was one of the early-ish year model Gen 4s. And this one specifically is rated at 325 horsepower from the factory, as where your Gen 3 5.3 is rated at 315. Now, the price difference is depending on where you live. It's always dependent on where you live. Some people, you could get this for $200. Some people could get that for $500 or $150 for that, and then $1,200 for this. It just depends on where you're at. I got this one cheap enough to where I was like, well, these are very, very good flowing intakes. Everybody wants these Gen 4 truck intakes if they're doing like a low budget build, because they just flow way better than a stock truck Gen 3 intake. And then you can take these coil packs, put them on there. You can take these heads, put them on there. This is all cathedral port, just like Gen 3 is all cathedral port. Oh, this damn dog. What in the Great Pyrenees is going on here? Hey! If you don't get your snow white ass back over here, get over here. Yeah, tuck the mirrors back and run. Better be scared. Jeez, okay. Hey. Now, okay, sorry about that. But, where was I? Yeah, all this cathedral port. You could take this and put it on that. You could take that and put it on this. You can use the crank pulley, you can use the water pump, heads, manifolds, everything. The oil pressure sensor on a Gen 3, another way to tell, just if you happen to see it from the back, my favorite view of your mom, is a Gen 3, the oil pressure sensor is this tall piece. That's actually in the block. Whereas Gen 4, it is a part of the valley cover. What else? The cam sensor on a Gen 4 is right here on the front plate, on the front cover. Whereas Gen 3, it's right here next to the oil pressure sensor. For me, price-wise, if this wasn't cheap enough, you guys already know I wouldn't have gotten it because it's not worth it. Oh, my dog. Hey, Zoe, come on. Inside. Come on. Jeez Louise. Okay, now that we're not being interrupted by Snow White. Yeah. Gen 4, 325 horsepower. Gen 3, 315. I'm not going to pay that much more for a Gen 4 over a Gen 3 for 10 horsepower to start with. That is not... I do not care. I will pay $200 for that all day long rather than $1,000 for that. Where some of you, it might not be $1,000. Some of you might be able to get this for $250 somewhere. Here in Texas, not a chance. These 6.0s right here. So I have this one priced. I'm selling this 6.0, this 5.3, and maybe that 6.0. And I have this 6.0 priced at $1,200. And that is a cheaper, that's cheap in Texas. Like a steel in Texas for this 6.0 is like $900. We'll say $800. But anything more than that, it's like usually here in Texas they're like $1,500 to $1,800. Guess how much this would cost at a local junkyard? $1,400. $1,400 for this from the local junkyard, having no clue about it. So, Texas, I mean, it is what it is. Now, if you want to start with something with good power and something you can really build on, and you don't care about money, I would, of course, get an LS3. That's probably the best LS engine ever made. But if you want to do a cheaper LS3, find you a Gen 4 6.2 or 6.0, which those are crazy expensive. Those are easily the most popular LS-based engines out of all of them. Gen 4, in general, the Gen 4 platform is easily the most sought after. Everybody wants a Gen 4. Gen 3, they're like, oh, I guess, Gen 4, they're like, fuck yeah. Especially if it's a 6.0 or 6.2. So the first 69 Camaro he brought me a Gen 4 6.0, and we ended up using a Gen 3 6.0, and I sold that Gen 4 6.0 for, I think it was $2,500, which now, with how prices have raised, it would probably be $3,000, $3,200, something like that. So that just gives you a good idea. Now, if you're an older fella, or well, I guess it doesn't matter. If you're new to all that and you see a Gen 5 for $3,500, there's a reason it's that cheap. Gen 5 is an absolute nightmare. It's expensive to swap. Now that I've gotten into the tuning world, supposedly Gen 5 is an absolute pain to tune. It's completely different from Gen 3, Gen 4 tuning wise. All around, it's just expensive. Now, if you want to pay the money for it and you don't care, good for you, but it's crazy expensive. And Gen 4 is what everybody wants. Gen 3, like I said, they're like, but me, I'll take Gen 3 all day long. It's just so much more simple. And another thing is, say you want to run, or we'll start with this car. This car has a Gen 4 engine, but it has a Gen 3 harness and ECU, meaning it has this cheap Gen 3 Amazon harness, and it has a cheap eBay ECU like what I use in all my swaps. And you're thinking, okay, that's not going to work. Well, technically, yes, it wouldn't work. But if you get this Lingenfelter box, you can run a Gen 4 engine on a Gen 3 ECU and harness. So your Gen 3 engines, they're 24 tooth. Your Gen 4 engines, they're 58 tooth. This box tells the Gen 3 ECU, oh yeah, hey guy, this Gen 4 engine, it's definitely 24 tooth. So let's go on ahead and, start it up, do everything we're supposed to be doing. And then the ECU is like, oh, okay, thanks. And there you go. That's it. So you get a cheapish Gen 4, and you don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, even, 1,500 maybe on a Holley Terminator setup, or 600-700 from BP Automotive. You don't want to spend that much on a harness. You want to do a cheap Amazon harness and a cheap ECU. That 275 Lingenfelter box is what you want. So there's that. I've actually haven't used one of those yet. That'll be going on this car. So that'll be some interesting knowledge to gain. What else? Also, I'm probably going to forget a lot of things because I'm doing all this off the top of my head because I might be selling that Gen 4 today. So I wanted to get a quick video in while I physically had one and I could show you the differences. But I'm gonna put a website down at the bottom to check out. It's much more knowledgeable than I am. It tells you everything about these engines inside and out. I highly recommend going and looking at that if that's some stuff you care about. But this is more so just kind of what are the obvious differences? How do I know what I'm looking at? Type deal. So I probably forgot something as I just yapped about, but I think I got most of it. I really just wanted to show you guys the outside differences so that if you're on Marketplace and you see one and they try to tell you, oh yeah, or they say you got this Gen 3 and they're like, yeah, it's a Gen 4 such and such. You're like, oh no, the valley cover's flat, has a Gen 3 intake, Gen 3 water pump, just basics like that. But the valley cover is always the big dead giveaway. That's the easiest way to tell. But yep, that is it. I appreciate you watching. Please go buy a shirt. I need some more engines. But anyways, I'll see y'all next time.